Yes, Ghanshyam sir, can we start this session?
Yes, yes, I am ready.
Okay, so good afternoon, dear participants. Our today's speaker is Professor Ghanshyam Rathod sir. I welcome you, Rathod sir, to deliver the session on topic trends in medical monitoring devices and wearable healthcare technology. Professor Ghanshyam Rathod is working with us in Electronics and Communication Department, BVM Engineering College. He is also a co-coordinator of this event. Sir has expertise in biomedical instrumentation, signal processing, sensors and instrument, industrial automation, wearable mechatronics and its application. Sir have the teaching experience more than 12 years and guided 30 plus UG major and mini projects. Sir is also published 15 plus national international research papers, articles in well-reputed journal and conferences. Sir is also actively engaged in our college boys hostel as a superintendent and also actively participated or actively working with the extra co-curricular activities like sports, culture at hostel and college level. Sir is right now pursuing his PhD on the same topic of biomedical signal processing and machine learning. So we welcome you, sir, to give the presentation on this topic.
Yes, thank you, Ronak sir, for a kind introduction. I hope I am audible to you.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
clearly audible.
Okay, okay. So, my topic is trends in medical monitoring device and healthcare technology. Let me share my screen. Yes, please confirm, is it visible?
the screen is visible.
Okay. So basically, when we say healthcare technology or monitoring device technology, uh, normally nowadays we use many gadgets. Most of the people are aware of smart watches, fitness belt. In hospital, there are more advanced system, more accurate system, I should say, and those are related to physiological parameters of a human body. And most of the things I'm going to discuss about human body, starting with the fundamentals, because we need to understand the fundamentals. Otherwise, if you are doing some research on certain topic, if you don't know the fundamentals, might be possible you take the things directly available in the market, like many boards are available. You try to make some modules or schematic, or you can say a project hardware, and if we are not aware of fundamentals, might be possible we'll make some uh, mistakes or errors, and due to that, we know we are dealing with the human health, and whenever some medical devices are there, we have to always take care of precision or accuracy. So I'll start this session more, or it will be more fundamental based, and I'll cover some latest technology also. So this is the outline of my presentation. So first of all, I will discuss related to biopotential. Before that, I'll discuss what is actually history, a little bit history of how this technology emerged. That thing I'm going to discuss. So we'll start with the first part, that is a brief introduction, and little bit thing I'm going to cover about history. So this is what the biopotential brief introduction. Then after I'm going to cover about bioelectrodes and its working. Not every electrode I'm going to cover because when as far as human body is concerned, whatever variables are there, most of the things like when you say electrodes, sensors are also there. So bioelectrodes and its working, I'm going to cover that. Then after medical monitoring devices, then wearable health technology, and then challenges, future scope. Then we'll have at the end of the session, we'll have some question answer session. In between that, to make this session interactive, I'm going to make a few polls or I'm going to make polling, and in that you have to give answer or you just submit your vote. We'll see how much you know. This is very easy question. I'm going to drop out in the chat box. So let us start with a little bit history. Before that, let me discuss the generalized medical instrumentation system. If you are aware of, this is a generalized instrumentation system where we'll start with the human body, that is known as measurin. So measurin, or you can say subject. From that, we are trying to measure physiological parameter. Here we are considering human body. Over here you can see this primary sensing elements. These primary sensing elements are, moreover, you can say sensors. So sensors are able to get those physiological parameters, like in ionic current is going to convert in electrical form. So what are those parameters? What are those things? That thing also I'm going to cover. Then after, some variable conversion element is also needed. The reason behind, because directly we cannot get every time those ionic current into electrical one. So we need a variable transducer, or you can say actuators kind of thing, so that if you are getting certain parameters in, like it is a mechanical motion. So at that time you need certain actuators which convert those mechanical to electrical. So at that time these variable conversion elements are needed. Then you can see when you are connecting sensors, we already know that these signals are very low voltage, or basically these are all analog signal with low voltage, low current, and these are raw form data. For that, this signal need to be processed. So signal processing part is there, and then after we need to display those things. Here you see we are storing those data. We can also transmit this, because nowadays those wireless or remote monitoring systems are there, and moreover we display those data, like on the LCD screens are there. Printers are also there, but nowadays the computerized system, advanced systems are there. So in output display, that means we are storing that data, or we referring the monitors or a screen of the system. Then after you see, this is control and feedback part. Over here, see, we have to provide a certain stimulation. As per the recording data, we need a stimulation also. So here you see a radiation, electric current, or other applied sources. At the bottom of this presentation, you can see this one. I'm getting a little bit lag. Should I? I'm just going to represent once again. I present this screen. So bear with me, because somewhere I'm just highlighting something and I'm getting delayed in this one. So wait a minute. I'm going to reshare the screen. Maybe possible network is getting slowed down, so Once again, I'm just sharing my screen. Just check whether it is visible. Yes, sir. Is it visible properly? So I was discussing this one, that radiation, electric current, and other applied energy. So these are nothing but a stimulation part. So when you are measuring certain things like EEG, EMG, for ECG it is not required, but for EEG, EMG, those are biopotential, electroencephalogram, electromyogram, even electroretinogram. Such biopotential required to give certain stimulation. So for that, this radiation, electric current, or other applied energy source block is available. Okay, I'm moving further. So let me discuss a little bit history, that how this medical technology emerged. You see, these physiological parameters cannot be measured as physical parameters. In 1970s or in upcoming decade, like nearby 1980s, the progress was not much due to high cost of instruments, and also medical staff were suspicious of new equipment, and they often are uncooperative. So during the Mercury, like when this Gemini and Apollo program by NASA, the large help was provided, and at that time, design of such medical instrumentation get rapid progress. So that after that, universities, hospitals, colleges, and researchers are started more working in this field, and this research in this field get more progress, or you can say gets much speeder. Now, starting from the fundamentals, if I say biopotential, a little bit brief introduction I'm going to cover. So biopotentials, so the definition of the biopotential, that is electrical potential generated in the body, or our ionic potential, you can say electrical or ionic potential. This transducer converts the ionic current in the body into an electronic current that flows through the electrode. So you see, certain ions are there which are actually responsible for generating this electric current from the body. So we're going to discuss those ions also. So it conducts small current across the interface between body and measuring circuit. So this amount of the current is very much small. For that we need certain amplifiers or signal conditioning sockets. So what is that ionic current or ionic potential? So here you see in this diagram, when we say a cell of the body, there are many types of the cell available in the body. But here if I say in a general overview, cell is having a membrane. So that peripheral, like you see here, outer space and inner space. Inner space is in between that there is a membrane, and here the membrane is nothing but a semi-permeable membrane. Here you see this area, this outer space, and in between that the membrane is there. And here you see outer side, the NF plus sodium ion, number of NF plus are higher, you see. And in inner side of the cell, that intracellular fluid, those are less number of positive ions. Like if I say less number of positive ions, or I can say Cl minus, more number of Cl minus ion. And because of that, inside one is a negative one, this negative charge. And if you check the resting potential, if you check the resting potential of cell, like there is no any kind of response or no any kind of activities going on at that time. If you check the resting potential, you will get for the human, it will be around minus 70 milliwatt. Minus 70 milliwatt is the resting one. Now here you see one more thing, that action potential. So these are I'm discussing ionic potential, and the ions responsible for this human body potentials are Na plus, K plus, Cl minus, sodium, potassium and chloride. So when some external stimulation is provided, you see these are the channels, like Na plus channels. The name given is semi-permeable membrane. Like it is not allowing every time entering or exit of the ions. At certain condition only it is allowing this ion to enter or exit. So when a stimulation is provided, whenever some stimulation is provided, or some movement is there, like if now cells are more, now fibers are there, muscles are there, some movement are there, at that time these action potentials are introduced. And at that time this Na plus channels, or you can say gateway, are open, and because of that, inside of the intracellular fluid, this inside of the cell, more number of positive ions are there, and because of that, that time period is known as depolarization. And this, because of this depolarization, we get some positive value of potential, and that is also in milliwatt. That is 40-50 nearby value of milliwatt. And after the stimulation is over, the cell is trying to repolarize once again. So it is once again trying to get in equilibrium. So at that time, what is happening? This K plus channel is open, and at that time, K plus, more and more K plus ion going out. And after that, once again, when equilibrium is done, you say back to the resting potential. Once again, that whatever the situation at the starting when we got the resting potential, the same situation is occurred. So this is how a starting of ionic potential, like action potential and resting potential, and that is related to just I'm discussing only single cell structure. So to get this potential value, a Goldman equation is there. So that is a GHK equation. Over there you can see this values like PK K out plus PNA NA out, then PCl Cl in. Like K out, it shows that K ions, like K positive ions, are going out from the membrane, and like Na plus are also going out from the membrane. So this is a concentration, nothing but a concentration of the ions. So here you see Vm is nothing but a potential value, which can be you can say biopotential, and that value can be determined from the Goldman equation. So that permeability of the various ions is nothing but Px, X stands for K, Na or Cl, and concentration gradients of those ions across the membrane. So that GHK, Goldman-Hawkins-Cards equation. So that is also useful, and one of the Nernst equation is also there, that is useful for determining the standard potential related to the electrodes. So we'll discuss the electrodes also. Now you see, when you are going to get those potentials, these electrodes are inserted inside the cell, and these are nothing but a micro electrodes. We cannot use giant electrodes to get a single cell biopotential. So these are just for referring for like kind of a lab experiment kind of thing, where just I'm going to show you how that biopotentials are measured, initial biopotential, and that is if I say resting or action potential related thing. So here you see one tiny graph. If I mention this action potential and resting potential in graphical way, this one, this minus 70 millivolt, as I told that, minus 70 millivolt is a resting potential, because we have discussed the intracellular and extracellular, that movement of the ions in last slide. So over there, when it is a resting one, that is a minus 70 milliwatt, and after getting stimulation, that potential starting increasing, like Na plus channel open, Na plus begin to enter in the cell, and when it is reaching to the nearby value minus 55, that is what a threshold value of excitation. When it is reaching to that much value, due to this number of concentration of the Na plus ion, like Na plus are added, and because of that this minus is getting more higher number of plus value, and this going to get a higher value, and ultimately it is going to reach to the 0, and then after it is crossing around plus 40 milliwatt. So this next stage. Yes, sir.
I think let me ask, is the PPT is visible? Because I am able to see the PPT presentation. Please ensure that the PPT is visible. I think there were a few participants raising some PPT is not visible, but I am able to see it from my side. So, okay, carry on.
Okay, sir. Okay. So the presentation is visible, I hope.
Now it is visible. Participants
okay, sir. Okay, sir. And now you see at this second stage, as I shown in the last slide, the K plus channels open, K plus begin to leave. So number of Na enters are more compared to K plus leave at that time. And because of that, more and more Na plus entered, and we got rise in this potential of resting one. And at this level, when we reach this one, it's nearby 40 plus, it may be 50 plus. This is nothing but in millivolt range. Okay, we got this spike, and this one is nothing but action potential. This, like you see this area, we are discussing this one. In this diagram, if you see this red one, so wherever this electrode is inserted, and then after you see over here at number 4 in the graph, K plus continues to leave the cell, causing membrane potential to return to the resting level, and once again it reaches to the normal value. Like normal, like it can say this minus 70, it is having some little bit spike, extra K plus output diffuse away, but once again it will reach it to the its minus 70 nearby millivolt value. But during this spike, this action potential spike, if you provide another stimulation, it is not going to respond, because that is known as a relative refractory period. In this relative refractory period, like whenever this action potential time is going on, if you provide another stimulation, the cell is not going to respond, because it need to once again come back to the its normal situation. Then after the another stimulation need to be provided. So this is related to action and resting potential. Now let me give you the just a brief definition of that. The action potential is an explosion of electrical activity that is created by depolarizing current. This means that some event, a stimulus, causes the resting potential to move towards 0 milliwatt. When the depolarized reaches about minus 55 millivolt, a neuron will fire an action potential. This is the threshold value. So I hope up till now clear, or any doubt or any question, anybody, please. Yeah, anyone having any doubt? So I'm just putting a one question. You can see your chat section. This is a polling. I'm just going to make this question. Resting potential value is nearby. I'm going to give the options also. You will have a poll in chat section. You just give me the answer that it will be minus 50 milliwatt. You just give the watt in that one. Just let me know if you know the answer. Minus 70 watt. Then minus 70 milliwatt. Then minus 150 watt. So I'm just sending that in chat section. You see your chat section, you can submit your answer. You can submit your vote in chat section. I'm getting the responses. Even you can also view the responses. Yeah, till the majority of the answers are correct. Yeah, many people are responding. That is good. All are here with me. It's good to know. Still, I'm waiting for the responses. You can see your chat section. There is a question I dropped. Same question displayed on your screen. I'm getting the responses. So the answer is, it's very easy. That is minus 70 millivolt only. The resting potential is, and if I say the action potential, that is near to 40 volt. So if you say voltage is the answer, yeah, voltage is a very much higher amount. So it will be a millivolt range minus 70. Now going further, not going in much detail about potential value and how it is occur and depth of that. So here we are going to discuss biopotentials. Major biopotential, I'm covering this one. The first one is EEG, that is electroencephalogram. That is nothing but a discussion, or you can say related to brain. So when you say electrical activity of brain neurons, when a large number of neurons fired at the same time, we get certain electrical behavior detected from the skull, directly from the brain. That is, if you say invasive, in medical term, if you say invasive, that means you have to penetrate inside the body. And when you say non-invasive, that means from the surface of the body, you can take the signals or measurements. So EEG can be taken by both the way. When some critical measurements are going to take from the brain, at that time invasive method are also used. One another is EOG, that is electrooculogram. So when you say a movement of eye or eye related measurement, rapid eye movement and all, so we get eye movement related potential, that is EOG. Short terms are here, I'm just showing you that one is EEG, another is EOG. Then when we say, like in last presentation, in last session, a few of the things you heard about this, all the biopotential, that is EMG, electromyogram, that is related to muscles. Then if some of the issue related to body muscles, we need to use the EMG technology, EMG biopotential. Then after ECG, well famous, electrocardiogram, that is electrical activity of heart, and that can be electrocardiograph or electrocardiogram. That electrical activity can be measured or can be printed or can be diagnosed, can be observed on the chart or on the computer screen. You can monitor that. Another is a respiration rate meter. So respiration rate is also one of the parameter related to human body. Yeah, can anyone tell what is the normal respiration rate for adult? We, most of the people aware of ECG, like a heartbeat, normal heart rate. You can write the answer in chat section. Normal respiration rate. I'm not asking ECG. I'm not asking 72 is bit higher number. Normal means when we are sitting, when we are sleeping, that is normal. We are not doing any exercise or any kind of work or any kind of heavy work. At that time, what will be the normal respiration rate? If you give the nearby answer, okay, I'll consider that. Okay, now I'm getting those answers. Yeah, it is per minute. So it is, if you consider the answer 12 to 16, that is, I can say correct one. If you consider children, that is a little bit higher. If you consider aged people, it will be also a little bit higher sometimes. So if I consider the group like age from 18 to 45 years, the normal respiration rate is nearby 12 to 16 or 12 to 18. 18 is, if I say correct, nearby correct answer. So it's vary according to the person, according to the age of the person. But the nearby value is that. Now blood volume. This is a BVP, blood volume pulses. So pulse can be also detected from the that artery part. You can see this over here. It is showing the tag over the skin conduction. Skin conductance, that is galvanic skin resistance. So we know our skin resistance varies according to the situation. Like if we are sweating, the skin resistance is lesser. If we are not, we are in the normal condition. If lesser stress is there, the skin resistance is different. So this galvanic skin resistance, one of the good research area is to find the stress level of the person. That is directly related to the stress. So it respond according, if stress is higher, sweating is higher, and most of the time you'll get this resistance value will be lesser. This galvanic skin resistance. We'll discuss a little bit thing about this one also. Then peripheral temperature. So body temperature is, we already know that normal body temperature nearby 36 centigrade, or you can say 98 nearby Fahrenheit. So that is a normal body temperature. So there are many sensors are available to detect body temperature even. So let us go further. If I say bioelectrodes and its working. This is the diagram you see. If you are having a mobile phone, you can rotate your screen, but here I try to cover this full diagram of how this electrode and skin interface is done. See, this is what electrode side. Some lead is connected, like a wire is connected over here, and here you see this one electrolyte. This electrolytic material is required for the proper conduction. Then this is epidermis. Most of the people are aware of, those who are working with this biomedical domain. So that is epidermis, the skin layers available, different skin layers, and whole thing represented in electronic circuit. This is the equivalent circuit of skin electrode interface. So you see this biopotential electrodes convert ionic conductance to ionic conduction to electronic conduction and are used for measuring electric potential of biological origin or to transmit electrical energy to a form human subject. Okay, so this basically three types of electrodes are there. One is microelectrodes, another is skin surface electrodes, and third one is a needle electrode. So this diagram, this equivalent circuit diagram, the different parameters are there, like half cell potential, and then this resistance, RDL resistance of the double layer in the metal. This CDC is the capacitance of double layer in the metal or electrolyte interface, the resistance of electrolyte material, and yeah, this see this part. You see this one. This one is when specific sweat is there. Whenever if sweat is higher, you get this kind of subcutaneous layer, no blood vessel or glands. So this number is varies. This resistance, this capacitance, even this VGHD is also varies. So that is this part shows in dotted line. Otherwise, most of the things are almost constant depending on the material we use for the electrode, but for the person to person that value is little bit varied, but most of the people these values are same. So this is what about electrode and skin interface and equivalent diagram of that. Now you see, first one is the microelectrodes. So microelectrodes are very small electrodes, about 1 micrometer in dimension, that can be inserted into the plasma membrane while not destroying or causing damage to the cell. So initially I shown that how to measure biopotential, or you can say action potential. Over there, we need to use this microelectrodes only. Nowadays, using these microelectrodes, many research are going on. I'll show you one of the video, that is a neural link developed by Elon Musk and company. You see, this one is a second one is skin surface electrode, a small device that is attached to the skin to measure or cause electrical activity in the tissue under it. Surface electrode may be used to look for problems with muscles and nerves. In ECG, like from the skin, you measure the ECG. Most of the time we use skin surface electrodes. Now, third one is the needle electrodes. To evaluate individual motor units within a muscle, an electrode must be placed into the muscle itself. So needle electrode used for this purpose. Okay, so this is just to give an example that if you want to record for the muscle, we need to use a needle electrode over there. Now let us see how those electrodes are look alike. Up till now, if anyone having any doubt, you can raise your hand, you can ask your query. Yes, anybody having any doubt? Okay. So this is what a physical loop of electrodes. These are nothing but a microelectrodes. And over there, different shape, different size, different packaging style, material we use. Like you see, this one is a patch type array. So multiple tiny wires inserted in a single core. And over here you can see these multiple dots. These dots are open, right? These are not insulated. And this tiny, very small wire kind of thing, that is a microelectrode, are inserted at particular organ or particular place or human body, and the measurement takes place. These are those arrays of microelectrodes. So when you do a measurement related to directly from the brain, these are very thin wires. That cannot damage the cells. Okay, let me clear that. So these are the different types of microelectrode array, that is CNT, modified microelectrode array, that interracial nanoelectrode arrays, and this material you should design this. Microelectrodes are platinum is the most commonly used electrode material because it's low impedance and having a high charge storage capacity. So I'm just going to show you one video. Let me know if you cannot able to hear the audio of this one. And this video is basically showing how that microelectrode are used for getting those EEG signals, and that ultimately make a design of brain computer interface, and that tiny device is known as neural link. Okay, so I'm just going to play this one.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny.
Is audio okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Wires.
Neuralink wants to connect our brains to computers, and now it's showed off a device reading a pig's brain signals in real time. But how does it work, and will it turn you into a cyborg? I'm going to break it all down for you. Elon Musk is at it again. This time he was unveiling a new brain-computer interface. It's called the Link, and he says that one day it could cure everything from paralysis to blindness. Now, I'm going to explain all of this to you using the Galaxy Brain meme. Just think, starting off basic, and then I'm going to blow your mind. So step one, the basics. Our brains are made up of billions of neurons, cells with long spindly arms that send messages via electrical spikes. Those spikes in electricity travel between neurons in a chain reaction, sending messages to the parts of our brain that control speech or movement, for example.
Yes, you see in this one, this is what neurotransmitters, and that a synapse, a connection between two neurons, those transmit those signals, and those signals are kind of electrical activities, and that signals are nothing but informations. If you think something, that thought is converted into electrical activity, and that electrical activity of neurons can be recorded using this neurotransmitter link, that neural link. So this is what actually happening inside our brain, and these people are trying to get those waveforms, those electrical activities of our brain in a single chip, and that chip can able to transmit those signal wirelessly. So we'll see that how it is working in this video. Just some of you are saying that video is not available. Is this video is okay? Just give me a response. It's playing well.
Yes, yes, it is playing well. There might be some bandwidth problem at other end, so it may get delayed, but it is playing.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
When you move your arm, that action started as an electrical spike up here, which leads us to the second part of the Galaxy Brain meme, how Neuralink plans to read those electric spikes. According to Neuralink, your brain cells are kind of like electrical wiring. And rather than just having neurons sending electrical signals, those signals could be sent and received by a chip. Elon Musk unveiled Neuralink's implantable brain chip, the Link version 0.9. It's a brain-computer interface designed to be implanted directly into the brain by a surgical robot. Same-day surgery without a big incision or general anesthesia.
You remove about a coin-sized piece of skull, and then you can just walk around right afterwards. It's pretty cool.
The chip plugs into your brain directly via tiny microscopic threads. They're about 1/20th of the width of a human hair, and they connect with the neurons in your brain to receive and send electrical signals. Importantly, Neuralink says these electrodes won't damage your brain.
If they're inserted very carefully, so that the robot actually images the brain and makes sure to avoid any veins or arteries, so that the electrodes can be inserted with no noticeable damage. You sort of think like if you stab something with a wire, surely it will bleed, but actually at a really small scale, it does not.
Now, I can't believe I'm giving you specs on a brain chip, but here we go. It has an all-day battery life, wireless charging, and it's designed to wirelessly connect to your phone via Bluetooth with a range of 5 to 10 meters. And the whole thing, the chip, the surgery, the full cyborg experience, will start off expensive, but Musk says it'll hopefully eventually only cost a couple of $1,000s. He wants it to be about as expensive as laser eye surgery. Okay, so you're with me so far. I'm going to expand the brain meme. We're going to Sparkle Brain. And this is where it gets weird. Elon Musk did a demo and brought out 3 live pigs, one without a brain implant, one who'd had a link implanted and then had it removed without any issues, and a third pig named Gertrude that had had a chip in for 2 months. We got to see a live reading of the neurons in the pig's brain, firing in real time, specifically the neurons that were sending and receiving messages from her snout.
So the beeps you're hearing are real-time signals from the Neuralink in Gertrude's head. So this Neuralink connects to neurons that are in her snout. So whenever she snuffles around and touches something with her snout, that sends out neural spikes, which are detected here.
We also saw the chip predicting the pig's movements based on brain activity. And we saw the electrodes firing and stimulating neurons and lighting up different brain regions. And that opens the door to some pretty game-changing applications for the link, beyond creating some kind of pork borg. Neuralink's head neurosurgeon, Matthew McDougall, said the first trials of the link would be aimed at treating things like paraplegia. The company said it received FDA breakthrough device designation in July. Now, that's not the same as FDA approval, but it is a fast track to getting a medical device out in the field. But Neuralink doesn't want to stop there, and that is where we go full Galaxy Brain. There was talk of curing blindness by implanting the link in the visual cortex, treating mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, and addiction, connecting the link to a heads-up display so you could walk around like the Terminator. And then there were basic ideas like, I don't know, telepathy, replaying your own memories, superhuman vision, and the ability to see ultraviolet light. Oh, and connecting your brain and uploading it into a robot.
I mean, this is obviously sounding increasingly like a Black Mirror episode. Everything that's encoded in memory, you could upload. You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore the memories. And hopefully you could potentially download them into a new body or into a robot body. The future's going to be weird.
A lot of these ideas are huge, but we didn't get any concrete timelines or really any idea of how they'd actually work. So while the link could be amazing for treating things like spinal injuries, don't expect to turn into the Terminator anytime soon. Still, it was amazing to see a brain working in real time. All right, guys, if you want to watch the whole presentation and see the little piggies in action, then we've got that for you on CNET. But if you want to watch the boiled down supercut with just the good stuff, we've got that for you too. And don't
So this was about neural link, and see those combination of full nanotechnology, and that is used for curing. Even they are planning to cure certain diseases related to vision, anxiety, depression, and those information from the brain directly can be in future technology. Like we can store our memory, like whole brain in robot, so that we can upload or we can download even those memories, because we know that brain is, and certain region of our brain is doing responsible for certain activities. So this is what actually they have implemented, and they are working on that. Now let us look into the physical look of the electrodes. That was related to micro electrodes, so I just shown you that video. But moreover, focus on the EEG technology, that electroencephalogram. On that signals, they are working the signal processing part, and then after they are predicting the proper necessary features. So physical look of electrode, here you see this diagram shown. So in first diagram it is showing those clip type of electrode. These are the clip type, that even you can say that a limb clip type of electrode. These are the suction bulb kind of electrodes. Here you see this disposable electrodes, disposable, even these are the disposable with various shapes. That adhesive is there, and this lead connecting this side of the lead connectors. So over here you see this is specifically used for certain biopotential measurement, and here this diagram shows for ECG1. I'll discuss that how ECG is also measured. So this ECG measurement technique uses either rectangular or a circular shaped plate electrode made of nickel, silver, German silver material. Now these are also body surface electrodes. Like from the scalp, if you wish to have those brainwave signals or EEG signals, a specific cape are available, and this distance are maintained between them are a specific 10-20 measurement system used for a measurement of this EEG signal. And this signal can be interface, this can be further processed after getting from the different region of the brain. So these are defined as per the number of channel, like 16 channel, 32 channel, or 64 channel. Depending on the number of electrodes, these channels are increased. Channel shows one channel means one measurement, one waveform. So the different techniques are there. We'll discuss it also. So traditionally AgCl, like silver fluoride, and Ag, silver, stainless steel are used as a electrode material in this type of electrode for the EEG measurement. So here you see a needle electrode made up of stainless steel. The monopolar needle electrode has a very finely sharp point and is covered with Teflon or other insulating material over its entire length, except for 0.5 mm exposure at the tip. So these are the physical look of those electrode. Even electrode arrays are also available. So these are the various different dimensional of those needle electrode. First one is insulated with exposed material tip, the lead wire connected to the other circuitries. Then this is a central electrode over there. This one is exposed, and that is not insulated. That is only a 0.5 mm exposure is there. That is a coaxial needle electrode. This is bipolar needle electrode. You see bipolar, that bi term taken from the two exposure available, and that is uninsulated barb, or that hypodermic needle electrode. So these are the basically here are shown only 4 types. There are many more types are also available. So this is about needle electrodes. Now here is one more question I'm raising. Once again, I'm just giving a poll. You can give the answer. Which type of electrode used for non-invasive measurement? So I'm just giving a poll in the chat section. Just give me the answer. It will be easy. The three types of basically electrodes we have seen. The question is, which type of electrode used for non-invasive measurement? So I'm just giving you option also. First one is a microelectrode. Second one is needle electrode. Third one is body or skin surface electrodes. Body or skin surface electrode. So you see, you can check the chat section. You can give your vote. Now it is available. You can check the poll. It is available right now. You can give the answer in the poll. It's a very simple question I'm covering. This is just for like it's afternoon session. It's very tough to. I want to make interactive. So most of the results we are getting, that is body surface electrodes. Most of the polls we are getting body surface electrodes. Yeah, that is the correct one. Non-invasive means you do not have to penetrate. So over there, body surface electrodes are useful. Yeah, most of the people have given the correct answer. Non-invasive, you need to remember this term, non-invasive. So non-invasive means you do not have to penetrate the body. So at that time, from the surface only we need to take the measurements, and that is why it is written body surface electrodes. So keep polling, no problem. I'm continuing with the slides. So medical monitoring devices. Now I have just completed the electrodes parts. It's almost 1 hour, and now we'll move towards the medical monitoring devices. So in that one, I'm not going to cover each and every type, but few major useful things. Like here you see one, it is shown that electrocardiogram ECG sensor. Then I'm not going to cover this breathing side, and this electromyogram I'll cover a few slides. Even for the blood pressure, even I'm going to cover a little bit things. Then general things, even galvanic skin resistance also I'm going to cover. So let us see one by one that if you say ECG, it is related to heart. If you say EMG, it is related to muscles. If you say blood pressure, here it is written sphygmomanometer, digital manometers, sphygmomanometers are available nowadays. Then if you say galvanic skin responses, that is GSR values. So let us see, even here it is not shown EEG. I'm going to cover that EEG also, electroencephalogram. So EEG monitoring, that electroencephalogram, that is nothing but electrical activity of brain, or you can say due to the neuron, we get the electrical activities at the surface of the like on the scalp. Even you can get the from actual. If you are going to take some critical measurement, at that time invasive method you have to apply. So you see in this diagram, the different lobes are available of the brain having a frontal lobe. This is a side view only shown, but if you see the top, you'll get two side of frontal lobe. So frontal lobe, that is responsible for thinking, memory, behavior, and movement. Then that parietal lobe, that is for language and touch. Then temporal lobe, that is used for hearing, learning, feelings. Then occipital lobe, that is responsible for sight and vision. Then that brainstem is for breathing, heart rate, temperature control, and all are done by this brainstem. Then cerebral part, that is behind our head. So that is balancing and coordination, movement related things are uh, balancing activity is controlled by this area. So different area are having different work of the brain. So these are lobes, and depending on that, the machinery or you can say measurements are designed or developed. Here you see a top view of a head, a cross-sectional view, that is a topographic map is shown, and in this one you see uh, FP1, FP2, then F7, F3, FZ, F4, F8. These are F stands for that frontal lobe. So when you put those sensors at the frontal lobe part, that F is taken, that letter F is taken. And over there you see this number, like if you go for the left hand side, that odd numbers are given. If you go for the right hand side of the brain, these even numbers are given. And this space between all the electrodes are in certain percentage, like 10 and 20% only. So if you are going to cover this starting from here and ending here, that nation and union, if you say this one is 100%, this one is 100%, this 100% is divided into 10% and 20% of total length. And then after this, all the electrodes are placed. So that is why the name given is 1020 measurement system. 1020 measurement system. And this T, C, and that all, like it is given for this temporal lobe and the parietal lobe. This behind part is parietal lobe, occipital part. So that letters are given basis on that. This side A1, A2 are used for as a reference nodes. So here is a diagram. That's a block diagram of EEG machine. See, here is the scalp top view zone where electrodes are placed. Electrodes there. This is many leads are available, so you will not get a single waveform in this one. So you have to select the montage, that how you are going to take those waveform. Like montage means if I taking there are different montage available. If I'm taking a single electrode waveform, like only waveform from each and every single electrode, that is also a different montage. If I select some other montage, like if I get this two electrode and nearby two electrode, and if I take average of the EEG of both of these, that is also a different montage. So you need to study about different montage. So montage selector is needed, and then after the amplifier is there. So this in this one, these signals are in microvolt. If you go for ECG, that is in millivolt, but these are very tiny waveforms, very low amplitude waveforms. So those are in microvolts, and it is needed some high precise amplifiers. So amplifiers are there. Most of the time we use operational amplifier because of it is having the open loop gain is very much higher. So those high precise amplifier are needed to design the circuits. And after filters are there, some high pass, low pass, notch filter to remove those 50 Hz noise, and precision, sensitivity all need to be calibrated. Then this analog to digital converter and this writer unit, that strip charts are there, some oscillographs are there. This is the processing part, this processor controller part. So when you having discussion on embedded system regarding this biomedical equipment, this part is always discussed. And finally we'll get a recorded EEG signal, electroencephalogram. So those signals So EEG is most often used to diagnose epilepsy. Epilepsy is kind of a disorder related to a brain, that is a seizure disorders. So which causes abnormalities in EEG readings. It is also used to diagnose sleep disorders, depth of anesthesia, coma, encephalopathies, and brain death. So brain death can also be analyzed using this EEG. So when you see the EEG, those are having a different frequencies. So different brain condition and this you see this behavioral traits are there. So it shows in frequency range. A particular, if you get this 0.3 to 4 hertz signal, that is in delta range. That is in delta range, and in delta range, that condition of the brain show that deep sleep condition. Then after the frequencies increases that 4 to 8 hertz, this range can be little bit vary in some other literatures. So okay, that will be nearby only. So in that time, that is a deep meditation. So when you see such equipment where the meditation related research are going on, they will more focus on this theta waves and its features. So that theta waves lying in the 4 to 8 hertz, and these are the random waves. Just you have to deal with the frequency values. Then alpha waves, it look like random, but when you go for the analysis, you'll get some different values, specific values, I should say. Then after alpha waves, alpha lies in 8 to 13, that is eyes closed or awake states. So alpha state is normally when you are relaxed, you will get this normal range values. When you are in some specific thinking or in thinking mode or eye open, that time also you get some higher frequency values, that is 13 to 30 hertz, and that is a beta wave. And finally, the highest one, the 30 and above value in fine consciousness. So that is the highest one. Okay. So that is a gamma waves. So depending on the different frequencies, the brain status is different. So that when you say a cognitive research and when you say emotions related, behavior related research are going on, in that era, this EEG technology is very much useful. EEG waveforms are very much useful, I should say, even to identify certain disorders related to brain, tumors, specific part of brain which is affecting due to disturbance activities of neuron. All the things can be observed or diagnosed using this non-invasive technique. This is a non-invasive technique, a very simple technique, and having many advantages. Now let me go through further that another one is an ECG, well famous. So you might be aware of this ECG, electrocardiogram. I'll not go in very much depth, but a basic terminology that how that ECG is measured, that how it is recorded and how it is generated, that thing I'm going to discuss. So ECG records the electrical signal from your heart to check for different heart conditions. So electrodes are placed on your chest to record your heart's electrical signals, which cause your heart to beat. Signals are shown as waves on attached computer monitor or a printer. So here you see the anatomy of heart. Not each and every part are written over here, but the main part, which is responsible for the conduction of the electrical activity of the heart. So here you see this yellow lines, those are intraradial pathways, those show that in dotted line. And these are pathways for electrical signal. If we say in our engineering terminology, those wires or a communication transmission lines. So those are allowing or given media to travel those electrical signals. So first one, here you see this SA node, is a sinoarterial node, and its name is a pacemaker. So that pacemaker is on that right atrium, on top of the right atrium, and it gives pulses, regular pulses, that is a natural pacemaker. Regular pulse is the interval of nearby 72 beats per minute. So those pulses are traveling on the wall of the heart, and it is reaches here. You see this atrioventricular node, and that atrioventricular node now it is allowing further transmission, and that is going through this way with this Purkinje fibers, this bundle of his, and it finally gives a ventricle part a contraction when it is reaches at the bottom of the heart. So you see this right atrium, left atrium. So left hand side oxygenated blood, right hand side deoxygenated blood, and then these valves are available which allowing one way flow of the blood only, and it is not even mixing of the blood is not happening. So this atrioventricle valve, whenever this signal reaches from SA node to AV node, then travel to this bundle of his, and then finally that Purkinje fiber we get a systole cycle, and that systole cycle gives us a waveform starting from P wave, then Q wave, R wave, S, T, and finally U. So this is starting from P. P is a firing of this SA node, then QRS complex. All the segments are there for each and every wave. So let us discuss that one. Before we discuss that, I'll show a small video that is how this ECG is generated, how that ECG is generated. And most of the things I have discussed, but let us see this small video. In that, how electrical activity, how this electrocardiograph is generated in an animated way. Check whether audio is available to know.
The electrocardiogram, or ECG.
Yes, audio is okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
ECG is a recording of the heart's electrical activity via leads placed at standardized points on the subject's body. This animation shows how the different ECG waves are produced during a cardiac cycle. The P wave is produced as the electrical impulse travels through the atria, causing them to contract. The P wave corresponds to atrial depolarization. The impulse then travels through the atrioventricular node, producing a flat section on the ECG, known as the PR segment. The PR segment is flat because no current is flowing through the cardiac muscle cells. As the impulse travels from the AV node to the bundle of His and along the upper part of the septum, the Q wave is produced. The passage of the electrical signal through the ventricles produces a large spike called the QRS complex. The QRS complex is much larger than the P wave because the ventricles are much larger than the atria and so produce more electrical activity. Most of the QRS complex represents depolarization of the left ventricle, which has much greater mass than the right. The impulse remains unchanged for a moment as the ventricles remain depolarized. This gives rise to another flat section called the ST segment. As the impulse fades away and the ventricles repolarize, the T wave is formed. Note, this animation shows the ECG recorded from a lead placed at position V6, one of the standard electrode positions to the left of the heart. Leads at other positions detect the electrical activity of the heart from a different point of view, and therefore produce differently shaped ECGs. As you will see, during atrial fibrillation, the electrical activity of the atria becomes disorganized. As a result, there is no P wave on the ECG of a patient in atrial fibrillation. The absence of P waves is one of the most important features used to diagnose atrial fibrillation.
So this was about how that ECG generate. And when you're working in this domain, you must aware of these parameters. Like if P wave is missing, or this PR interval is different. So PR interval, PR segment, this QRS, this R peak value, QRS complex, and ST segment. So doctors are able to diagnose the heart related issue based on these measurements. So they measure this ST segment, they measure this QRS interval, they measure this PR interval, this PR segment, T wave and all. And those are having certain standard values. I'll also discuss those standard values. Before that, how this ECG measure, well famous technique is a 12 lead technique. So 12 lead technique, in that total number of 12 leads, like 12 way to measure the ECG signal. So first three one are the limb lead technique. 1, 2, 3 limb lead technique. So over there, right arm, left arm, and left leg. Three parts are used to get this signal. So if you use right arm, left arm, you'll get this lead 1 technique. Then after, you see this side, this red one and yellow one. These are, if you get that right arm and then left leg. And over here, third one is left arm, left leg. So these are all bipolar technique. Bipolar means two leads are used at the same time to get those ECG signal. Two electrodes or two placed electrodes are used, and third one is as a reference one. So this is what we get the different waveform for the different lead techniques. So every time if you get some disturbed waveform, and if you see it is not look like a standard waveform, we are able to see it is not that which lead you have used to measure this ECG signal, that showing the shape of the ECG signal. If you are using that lead 3 technique, you will get this kind of signal. So that doesn't mean that your signals are abnormal. This don't show that which technique you are utilized to get those. So lead selectors are always there on the machine whenever you go for the ECG measurement, and based on that, this kind of shapes are available. But wherever you get the spikes are nothing but those QRS ventricular contractions only. And that AVR, AVL, and AVF, those are augmented unipolar lead technique. Augmented unipolar lead technique, where only single electrode is a major one, and the other two are shared one. So that all designs are there, and this V1 to V6 all are a chest lead technique. So here you see in the diagram this V1 here placed over the nearby chest area. This six electrodes are placed. Those are body surface electrodes, and from that the signals are acquired. So nearby chest area, the signals we are getting, those signals are giving good results. So whenever some critical measurements are taken place, most of the time those electrodes are placed near to the chest area. So this is what placement of the electrode and how that machine actually designed. So this is just a generalized block diagram of ECG monitoring system. So right leg, left leg, right foot, and left foot, 4 things, and then chest is also there. So surface electrodes are attached. Then after lead selector circuit, as we discussed in the last slide, lead selector, we need to use which lead are used to that particular ECG signal. And pre-amplifier are there. Isolation circuit is needed, because when you connect body with the electrical circuit, isolation circuits are always required to avoid those noise. Even you need to avoid those shock electrical currents and all. So band pass filter is required, and amplifier circuit, and then this is here it is shown 60 hertz, but in India it is required 50 hertz only, because power line noise always affect these signals. So you need to remove this. For that you need to use band reject 50 hertz notch filter. And finally you get this signal. After getting this signal, even there are much signal processing part is there, and then after feature extraction and all are required. Nowadays, advanced technologies are available, so most of the things are automated by the machine only. It do the filtering part, it do the segmentation, and a computer gives the direct value of that certain ST segment and class complex and voltage and amplitude and time scale and all. And if it gets some abnormality, it directly cuts short that particular part and shows to the computer screen or on the street chart that yeah, this one needs to be observed. So nowadays the doctor's work is a little bit easier regarding measurement of this ECG street chart. So this is what the parameter I'm just highlighting, that for abnormalities related to heart, if you get certain detection related to heart, that 60 to 100 beats per minute, that is the normal sinus rhythm, no issue with that. If you are getting that rhythm nearby 100 to 150 beats per minute, that particular part, that is a faster heart rate, called the tachycardia. That particular, this is known as tachycardia. The heart rate is lower, that is sinus bradycardia. That problem related to lower heart rate. And then if you get the rhythm and heart rate, that irregular rhythm 40 to 60 and beats per minute 60 to 100, so sinus arrhythmia is detected. And if you have a width related problem, like if you get width more than 0.13 seconds, the bundle branch block might be possible. And these all our parameters are used for our automated research related circuit design or a module design. But ultimate decision, like final decision, is taken by the doctors only. We cannot take the decision on it, but we can take the standard parameters. The width of QRS, if it is less than 0.045 second, that premature ventricular contractions are there. Then if PR interval is having more than 0.2 second interval, then it may be first degree AV block. So these are all are issues related to heart, and that can be detected from the ECG only. So we can develop our own machine and we can consider this parameter based on the standard values. Now one more part related to that sinus arrhythmia, and it is a bradycardia problem. When somebody is having a less than 50 or nearby 40 heart rate, at that time this cardiac pacemaker need to be used. So that is a artificial pulse generator. So you see, pacemaker is a computerized device that regulates the timing and sequences of your heartbeat. So if any time heart is missing its beats, at that time this circuit or this equipment automatically provide the missing beat. So you see here, this is a very tiny instrument that can be implanted in the body, and the diagram can see that you need to provide this catheter, or you can say these electrodes are inserted. Those are over here. These electrodes are inserted using a procedure, and that input from the electrode taken and then pre-amplifier and filter part is done. And that is continuously monitored, compared and monitored by this processor. And depending on that missing beats, we provide the pacing pulse generator, and pacing pulse generator provide the missing beat to the AV node, this AV node, not at the SA node. We provide the beats or that particular small current amount or small voltage to the particular anteroventricle node. Okay, so that is what functioning of pacemaker. Now, one of the well-famous technology, that is the electromyogram, and that biopotential known as is a diagnostic procedure that evaluates the health condition of muscles and nerve cells that control them. So these nerve cells are known as motor neurons. They transmit electrical signals that causes muscles to contract and relax. So you see, muscle related issue can be diagnosed by this EMG technology. And in this one, this over here you see this electrodes, clip electrodes are connected, and external electrical stimulation is provided so that electrical signal travels through these nerves, or you can say muscles fibers, and that signal received first one, then second one. Based on that, the speed of the signal can be detected, and on basis of the standard values you can predict the issue with the muscles. Even one another this this kind of needle electrode used for giving stimulation to get those EMG signal. Here the diagram shown here is just related to some pressure related, like how much force can be able to apply by the particular muscle. So this force equipment, that this potentiometer will give the change the value according to the force we provided. That force can be, that EMG signal can be taken from this at the time of provided force. So when your muscles are relaxed, at that time you'll get the different signal, and when the muscles are stretched or in the stress, at that time you'll get the different signal. So that part, at that time we get the raw signal, then data acquisition systems are there and signal processing part are there, and finally you'll get the necessary output related to the muscles activities. So this kind of signals you can able to see that EMG signal. Those are also random signals. You need to give the pre-processing word, rectification and all to get the features of this EMG signal. And on the basis of standard values of EMG signal, you can predict or you can determine or you can diagnose the issues related to the muscles of the body. Okay, this is generalized question. I was planning to call, but we'll have some limited time, so I'm not calling now. So which biopotential is referred as a brain wave also? Can anybody tell which biopotential referred as a brain wave? In chat section you can write the answer. ECG, EEG, EMG or ERG. ERG is electroretinogram. I'm not polling now. I'm just asking you to write the general answer in the chat section. So let me take this one faster. Galvanic skin resistance, that is an older term that refers to the recorded electrical resistance between two electrodes when a very weak current is steady pass between them. It is measured by connecting electrode to a voltmeter. So the voltage also varies with the emotional state of the subject. So how that actually happening when a particular person is having an emotional response, so that this GSR sensor allows us to measure sweat gland activity, which is related to emotional arousal. And to measure GSR, we take advantage of electrical properties of the skin, and specifically how the skin resistance varies with sweat gland. Sweat gland activity, the more perspiration and thus the less skin resistance. So here you see a diagram of GSR resistance. This is the two electrode connected. Over here you see in this diagram the skin resistance can be measured depending on the skin activity, or you can say skin electrical responses. So resistance varies according to the emotional state of the person. I hope up till now okay. So this is a general few of the signals I have discussed. So these are the EEG, then ECOG. That is also related to brainwave, that electrocardiogram, electrokilogram, electrocardiogram, electromyogram. Then physical signals are body temperature, skin strain, pressure, blood movement, blood flow velocity, skin modulation, skin hydration. And then biochemical signals are blood glucose, weight, composition. Then photoelectric signals are PPG, blood oxygen, blood pressure, now. So these are the wearable devices available in the market. That these are the name given. eMotiv is the company, Neurosky is the company, Zoe, StarLab, then InSense. So these are the different number of channels are also different as per the devices. More number of EEG signal you get depending on the number of channels related to the device. And you see nowadays this kind of device is available with certain Android applications, and in that you can do the meditation and you can check the how how your brain condition or how which kind of signals it is providing, its meditation is good or it is not good, or it is analyzing the whole process and it's giving the result based on that. So this is advancement going on the wearable health monitoring devices. One of the advanced technology is ECG monitoring, that wireless monitoring technology available. These patches are connected and continuously the doctor or a particular person who is monitoring the ECG signal directly from the particular patient. So those applications are available. So here you see this day 1, day 2, day 3, how much the bit rate is there, which kind of signal, if any kind of abnormality is there, that is also auto detected and that can be analyzed in the application. So that is a continuous monitoring part. If you say blood pressure, when heart beats, if we are working with the ECG, blood pressure is always there, like cardiac, when you are dealing with the cardiac activity. So let me cover this one is very fast. So when your heart beats, it squeezes and pushes blood through your arteries to the rest of the body. This force creates pressure on those blood vessels, and that's your systolic, like higher blood pressure. Like when ventricle part is squeezes, at that time highest pressures are felt by this arteries part, and that is known as the systolic blood pressure. And the diastolic blood pressure, that is a lower one or a bottom number. It is a pressure in the arteries when the heart rests between the beats, and this time when the heart fills with the blood and get oxygenated. The two blood pressure is a 120 80 mmHg. It's a well famous number. And if you are getting the normal heart rate, that systolic need to be nearby 120 and diastolic need to be nearby 80 mmHg. mmHg stands for mercury unit. So you see the cuff is attached to the left hand side. It's always used when you do the blood pressure measurement. Left hand is always used. And over here pressure sensors are there. There are many types of pressure sensor. Piezo is there, FPT base is there, and even optical sensors are also there. And then valve is controlling the pump pressure, and then pressure sensor detects the particular value. Those pressures are converted to electrical signal. Those electrical signals are analyzed and give the value of systolic and diastolic pressure. And before nowadays digital pressure meters are famous. Before this, now few doctors are still using this signal manometer. It is also giving the accurate meter. They have to provide manually those air pressure, and in digital one, that automatic air pressure is provided by the pump. So these are the digital one. The wrist also you can connect the blood pressure meter and directly get the readings. So this are the comparison table, and this is useful to design the module of blood pressure machine where it gives some certain readings. So normal it is when you say systolic one, that is nearby 120 and less than this diastolic less than 80. If you say elevated, that is more than 120, then less than 80 diastolic one. If you say high blood pressure stage 1, that is 130 to 139, and diastolic is 80 to 89. Then high blood pressure hypertension stage is 140 or higher one, and 90 or nearby diastolic value. And if you say the doctor, you need to consult with the doctor. The value is systolic one is more than 180 and higher than 120 is the diastolic one. One of the famous technique, that is a finger plethysmography, is when you work with the blood flow. The plethysmography is an infrared photoelectric sensor used to record changes in the pulsatile blood flow from finger or toe. So here you see one diagram I would like to show for plethysmography. Here you see the infrared sensors throwing those infrared lights, and that received at the receiver part, and depending on the blood flow, we know when blood flow is higher, we can directly say those red blood cell are, or a concentration of blood cells are more in that, and depending on that the receiver part having a different values of that blood different value, and that different values are diagnosed based on the blood flow. So cuff pressure need to keep arterial blood volume constant, and then after it is analyzed, and finally we can get the specific values from the plethysmography. So we can get the blood flow value from the finger plethysmography. So actually plethysmography measures a change in the volume in the different areas of your body. It measures these changes with blood pressure curve or other sensor. So these are attached to the machine called plethysmograph. And this is what IR sensor device, and which used to get the blood pressure monitoring. That is a heart rate, HRM, heart rate meter. This is also well famous in even in a smart belt or fitness tracker. The same technology is used. So infrared LED transmitter receivers are there, and that IR photo transistor receive the signal based on the flow of or concentration of blood cells, and that signals are analyzed, and those blood beats per minute are diagnosed or detected. Even this one is also very well famous, that SpO2, also known as the oxygen saturation, and is measure the amount of oxygen carrying hemoglobin in the blood related to the amount of hemoglobin not carrying the oxygen. The body needs that to be certain level of oxygen in the blood, or it will not function efficiently. So this is what diagram. I'm not discussing those embedded part, and just this is the where the finger is infrared sensor, IR sensor. We have used the same technology we see for the heart rate meter. The same applied for this SpO2 even. So these are the readings. This nowadays in this pandemic situation, these numbers are very much famous. So 95 to 100, that is a normal one. 91 to 94, mild hypoxemia, then moderate hypoxemia, and then less than 85 is severe hypoxemia. Hypoxemia is defined as a decreased partial pressure in the blood and oxygen available to the body or an individual tissue or organ. The fitness tracker is these are the latest technology, and all must be aware of one or other type of fitness trackers. So these are the chest belt, then hand grip type, and then even wrist type of smart fitness trackers are available. So when you say fitness tracker, the sensors, let me give a very fast view of those sensors available in the fitness tracker. That ambient light sensor, that is automatic controlling the light of the display. Then free axial accelerometer detects movement and tracks direction of the particular person or orientation of the position and rate of the speed. Everything is detected by the free axial accelerometer. Then altimeter, that is related to the height. The sensor is related to the height. So almost 16 sensors are there in the fitness tracker that nowadays our latest tracker. I'm just telling you. So this one other is optical heart rate sensor, detect the heartbeat per minute. And the SpO2, that is already discussed. What is that SpO2? This sensor is also available in latest fitness belts or fitness trackers. This bioimpedance sensor to measure respiratory rate and the sleep related activity. So that respiration rate is also included, and proximity sensor saves battery and breaks the display when it is needed. So it is available in our phone also. And then compass help in direction and maps, that is also available in smartphone. ECG sensor are also attached, so we can able to get the ECG waveform. That is not that much accurate, but we can able to get those. And GPS is also inbuilt in the smart fitness trackers. This, yeah, the gyroscope help detect the motion. Even gesture sensors detect the wrist motion. UV sensor measure the exposure to the harmful sunlight. Almost 16 sensors. I have just shown the brief highlight of all those. That magnetometer works for the GPS and compass to determine the exact coordinate of your location. Then electrodermal activity sensors, then electrodermal activity skin temperature sensors. So these are the boards available, that various sensor module available in the market. This is a well famous ECG module, that is 88232, that is nearby values 400 to 600 available in the market. You can interface this module with the even Arduino. Most of the module I'm showing here, those are compatible with Arduino. Another one is also, this is also ECG sensor. No, this is related to heart rate. This is HRM sensor, heart rate meter. This is not for ECG. And that this one is nearby values 200 to 300. This one is for EMG module, that electromyogram, and that nearby values 1800 to 2000 INR. That is readily available. The references links are also I have just attached here to get information related to the voltage and how that those parameters, electrical parameters and other parameters related to the modules. And this is the EEG brainwave module that is a very much costlier, and this is also available in the market, and you can develop your own module using this kind of readily available board, which is giving high precise output, and you can attach this one for you can develop your own EEG module for analysis of your brainwave signal of whatever research work you are doing. So these are few sensors, product name I just highlighted, where this biometric sword that is related to textile, then fitness tracker, that Jawbone fitness tracker, different wireless platform. They are connected with Bluetooth and LE and ENT plus also some of them are connected, and then battery life is also mentioned. So if you consider the wearable technology, the challenge is pros and cons. So when you say that cons of wearable technology is that when you say wearable medical device attached to the human body detects, monitor, change and capture biological physiological data, the issues origins from the obtaining imprecise and inconsistent measurement and collecting this data largely because of the design flaw or wrong usage of the wearable. This issue is easily avoided through good product design. The product design does matter. Another is battery life. So wearable technology conveniently consumes much power, which limits use, thus its benefits. Thankfully, the battery limitations in wearable device have improved over the years, and thanks to the innovation of the engineers and electronic product engineers. Security is one of the issue with this physiological parameter. It's the biggest hurdle of the wearable, and cyber attacks on the connected medical device are increased. So foolproofing of medical device is achievable by meeting Food and Drug Administration and other security standards. And another is a high potential cost. The costing is very much high related to this equipment. So these are the cons for this technology. And the pros for these technologies are, a number of benefits are there. This is one of the case studies given where they have connected this Apple Fitbit wearable belt to detect the coronavirus sign, and to the 11 to 14 patients through finding it's their heart rate documented by the wearable. And based on that heart rate, the recent study, the patient who were provided trackers increased their activity, leading to lost weight and decreased LDL bad cholesterol level after 12 to 14 weeks of use. In another study, overweight individuals who managed to get 10,000 steps per day over 12 weeks resulted in lower body weight and BMI experienced significant reduction in the findings of anxiety, depression, anger, fatigue, confusion at the end of the study period. So I'm just about to end the session. So if you are facing any question, if you are feeling to ask any question, you can ask. So these are also pros of wearable technology, that remote health monitoring is possible, then wide range of uses in the future also there. So like current development and to speed will allow for wearables that can allow person to control health, monitor fitness from head to toe via smart helmets, hearing aids, eyewear, even in smart clothing and footwear, skin patches, climate sensors, and many more. Thank you, all of you. This is from my side. If you feel to ask any queries, you can.
Dear
Yes.
participants, your mic is unmuted. You can ask the question to our expert.
Yes, sir. Any questions? You can write your queries in the chat box even.
Sir, what's the difference between the electrodes and the sensors?
Actually, if I say electrodes are nothing but a sensor only, but when you say related to biomedical measurements, those are nothing but particular for please mute the mic. Like there is much noise. Please mute the mic. There is a much noise.
I request all the participants, those who are not having any query, please mute yourself.
Please mute your mic.
Priyalata ji, please mute your mic. Priyalata ji. Okay, sir, you
Yes.
can continue.
Yeah. Actually, the question is what is the difference between sensor and electrode? Electrodes are a sensor only, but every sensor cannot be said electrodes. So when you say electrodes, and that is basically related to biomedical measurements. So as I explained, those electrodes are designed with those particular material, and you say one is needle surface, even a micro electrode. And those specific materials are used to design electrode, and those electrode are converting ionic current to the electrical current. So those are specific electrodes. Those can be considered in sensor also, but every sensor you cannot say those are electrodes. Okay, am I clear?
Sir, like do wearable devices, will they use electrodes or they just sense the signals by using sensors?
So when you say generalize wearable devices, at that time electrodes are not there. Sensors are there, but electrodes are not there every time, because connecting electrodes is a different thing. It needs a highly precise, like trained people, and there are motion artifacts are there, false readings are there. So if I say infrared sensor, and when you use infrared sensor, that is not an electrode, that is a sensor, but it is not. In wearable technology we use sensors, but every sensors are not electrode. So every wearables are not with I should say electrode. But when you are doing the measurement related to like ECG, EMG, or if I say EEG or ERG, at that time you directly connect this electrode with the skin outer or inner surface, or in by penetrating the even skin. So those are actually electrode. Not every equipment are having electrodes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, any other participants? Yes, anybody else? Even you can write your queries in the feedback form, in the attendance form. Feedback is there. You can write your queries in that also. Yes, sir. This is from my side, sir. Thank you.
Yes, participants, if you have any question, then you can ask. Otherwise, we will conclude the session. Okay, we will wait 2 to 3 minutes. If there is no question, then we will conclude after 2 minutes.
Okay, a few announcement. We will be sending you the assignment related email by 5 p.m. today in your registered email address, right? You have to submit that assignment by Thursday 12 p.m. So all are requested to look at your email. We will be also attaching a session sample assignment form in it. You will have to use it and you will have to complete the assignment by Thursday. So once again, I thank our expert, today's expert, Professor Ghanshyam Rathod, for delivering such a nice talk on this monitoring the healthcare about the individuals and nicely covering all the aspect of different parameters, body parameters. And I believe that many of the participants must be benefited by this wonderful session delivered by Professor Ghanshyam Rathod. So with this, we conclude over here. We will meet tomorrow. Tomorrow's sessions, if I can quickly highlight, tomorrow we have 9 to 11 session, which is on PPE kits and related wearable technology. A young entrepreneur who has developed this, so it is a very good opportunity for all of us to hear from him. Second session is from legendary engineer Dipen Parmar, a review of wrist-worn wearable, sensor model and challenges. And third session is on the wearable devices for monitoring the limb rehabilitation. So all three are a very good session to attend and very renowned experts, those who are going to deliver those sessions. So wish you all the best. And again, we are sending the link link for the attendance once again. So I have already circulated the link twice, but if you have not filled it up, you can fill it up just now. If any of the participants is having any query.
Sir, there is a query related to pacemaker. Some of the participants raised a query related to pacemaker.
Yeah, please.
You can unmute. I can read the question that what is the lifetime of that pacemaker, invasive pacemaker. So that lifetime is nowadays advanced materials are used to develop this pacemaker. So there is most of, I can say, it's more than 10 to 20 years. So there is, because all the batteries and all they use, that is auto rechargeable batteries they are using. And materials are more advanced material, because that material and very tiny instruments are there. So that covering materials also are very advanced. So it is not making any kind of disturbance to the body cells. And another question is that how pacemaker cells plays a role in a pacemaker. So pacemaker cells, if I say pacemaker cells, rather to say those pacemaker nodes. Those nodes are sinoarterial node and atrioventricular nodes. So if there is a disturbance in sinoarterial node, like it is not producing beats at a particular time, that is a natural pacemaker, and that node is not generating a pace, and that is not reaching to the atrioventricular node, and because of that particular fibers are not giving transmission to the pulse, that AV node is deactivated. It is not auto activated. When and when it gets the pulses, so if that AV node is not getting any pulses in particular time cycle, that pacemaker generate a beat at that time, because pacemaker continuously monitoring those beats, and if any of the beats missed at that particular instant of time, it provide that beat and it maintain the regular pace of the heart. I think I clear the doubt. Yes, Priyanka ma'am, yeah, am I clear from my side?
Good, sir. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. So
okay.
it was a really nice and very
Thank you.
nicely explained session. So if there is no other query, we can conclude. Is there any other query related to FDP assignment or quiz? Again, we can answer on it. Although we have been discussing this matter in every session, but still, if anyone wants to discuss on it, we can answer the same